The first form of employment that I had was with a Nathan's Hot Dog. This Nathan's Hot Dog was inside of a movie theater. So Fridays and Saturdays, it was chaos. So I would, for a short period of time, lose my Fridays, lose my Saturdays, show up to this job, bust my ass, and after 2 weeks, I get a paycheck. Even at 16, I'd look at that check like, wow, I busted my ass for that shit. I'd rather sell drugs. I dropped out of high school. I had no desire to be in high school. So I didn't want to be a part of it. So eventually I would leave. And the way that society kind of builds you up, they made you believe is that if you don't graduate high school, you're fucked. Nobody's going to hire you without a high school diploma. And I couldn't finish high school. I worked at the bar, and it was a pretty good gig because I was a bartender, but I made like an hourly wage too. My biggest day there was like $2,300 as a bartender. So I was working at this bar, doing well for myself, trying to move up, and it was August, and Tropical Storm Irene came through. So then a couple days later, we get more people are staying at the hotel, right? We know them now. Those are catastrophe adjusters. These are insurance adjusters. They're working on a 1099 basis. They're independent contractors, and they're coming in, and they're staying at the hotel, and they're handling claims there. You know, we're getting to know each other, and eventually they start saying, like, you should talk to my manager about getting into this. And I remember one guy from Atlanta pulling this manager in, and the manager would sit there, and he's like, tell him about this whole thing. And the guy was just like, arms crossed, like, yeah, you know, and just didn't want to talk about it, right? Which I thought was weird. But the overall, what everybody was saying was that this business, you get into it, you could travel around the country and make a couple $100,000 in like a couple months. So I'm in my house and I'm doing it, and I start thinking, you know, your mind's going a million miles an hour. I'm like, what about that thing the guy was talking about? What about the cat adjusting thing? What's that guy talking about? So I start doing some research on it. I'm in front of my laptop, like, what does all of this mean? What does all of this mean? And I'm reading what people online have written that, yeah, that completely supported everything that these guys have been saying. And I'm reading it in multiple different websites. And now I'm toying with this. Now you've gotten this like too good to be true thing. You've kind of made this discovery that you have in your life that you thought in the very beginning, once you heard this thing, you thought this is too good to be true. It's bullshit. Whenever something's too good to be true, it's bullshit. But like, you don't understand the perspective that your perspective is off, right? It's not that it's too good to be true. It's just that it's true. You think it's too good, but it's just true. That's all it is. I mean, if you said that, somebody could say, hey, you could start a business and make $1 million a year. That's too good to be true. It's not. It's true. You could, or you could suck at it. Either or. It all depends on you. So now I'm at this point where now I'm starting to get overwhelmed with supporting information. And it's like, yeah, you can do it. All these different websites. And now I'm like battling in my head. Is this it? Is this legit? If I say that this is bullshit and all these sources, the guys that I've met over the last couple weeks are full of shit, and every single website that I'm reading, different website, different writer, if I say that all of this is full of shit too, am I kidding myself? Or am I kidding myself and preparing to walk away from a great opportunity? Or is this the opportunity that people talk about getting and having to double down on? So at that point, I kind of decided, well, what do I have to lose? What do I got going on right now that I'm going to lose if I pursue this and I fail? Am I going to lose my bartending job? I'll get another fucking bartending job. This is bartending job number 50. Am I going to be able to find a job that pays me $7.50? You know, I think I was making $10 an hour on top of my tips. Am I going to be able to find a job like that? Maybe not. Maybe it's like $5 an hour. $5 difference. That's not that big. By that following March, and then I found myself at that point in a position that everybody else, and this is part of the reason why I started Just University, I found myself in a position where I didn't know what to do next. I had the license, and I just didn't plan that far ahead. I didn't realize that there's way more to it than just getting a license, because now you're not an employee, you're a business, and now you basically have a business license in a way. And then so I start reading up, I go online, and I'm like, looking up, what do I do next? Resources at that time are very limited. And so like then I start reading like all these horror stories, like, yeah, it's oversaturated, there's too many people doing it. You know, you'll be lucky if you go out one time a year, you know, never leave, and blah, 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 don't get blacklisted. All these horror stories. And I'm like, oh my God, this was a failure. Where were these websites 6 months ago? I'm believing that the people that have not succeeded in the endeavor that I'm going down, I'm believing that those people their opinions are gospel. In the very beginning, I went after the good stories, and I believe that, and that's what led me to make the decisions that I made. And then now that I'm struggling, I'm only, confirmation bias, I guess, a subtle confirmation bias. Now I'm reading all these horror stories and I'm thinking, well, if these people failed, I'm probably going to fail too. All of a sudden, I understood the concept that if I wanted to get work here, nobody was going to give me work if they didn't know who I was. I understood that. So I needed to make sure that people knew who I was. So I started hitting the handful of companies that I knew at that time, and I'm hitting them up, taking every opportunity I had. And it was that August, I had agreed to go to some class in Louisiana. Not so much just to go to the workshop and learn, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to get face to face with people at this company who could give me money and fucking, I don't know what. Just try my best to make a lasting impression there. And then I got a little bit lucky. So at the same time this class was going on in Louisiana, Hurricane Isaac was coming up and it was going to hit Louisiana. But they said the class is still on. My flight got canceled. So then I'm like, fuck, I guess I can't make it. And then they sent a message saying that the class is still on. And they said that if you make it, if you're one of the few, however many people that do, there's a chance that you're going to get deployed, which is we're going to send you out on assignment. And so I heard that. I'm like, get the fucking car ready. So I packed that up. And this is like 2 days. This is like 2 days before the thing. I was like, time to go. So I packed the car up and I hit the road. And as I can still remember it, as I'm coming in, this is in Hammond, Louisiana. As I'm coming in, I go over a hill, right? And I'm getting close. I'm getting like I'm a couple hours out. I go over a hill. And at the top of that hill, I meet Hurricane Isaac. And it's black. And I'm in a 4-cylinder shit can. And so I say, well, we're going in. And I call my parents up and I'm like, listen, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of the situation. I'm about to drive through a hurricane right now. There's no fucking stopping me. I'm going through. I'm 2.5 hours away. I'm going in. And I remember driving 10 feet visibility. The side of the car is getting hit with limbs. And I'm like, we're fucking making it. And I make it all the way to the hotel. Hurricane stat. It wasn't like a big hurricane. I don't know, one something. I make it to the hotel. I remember banging on the door. There was somebody in there and they let me in. They said, we got your room, but just there's no water's out and electricity's out. I was like, I got water in the car. And so I get in there and I just sat at the window in this dark room, just looking out. Shout out to, Chinese restaurants. I saw everything shut down except for the Chinese restaurant across the highway. I guess they had a generator. Their light was on. There were people outside. So I shot over there. I ate. And, I was out on assignment for 2 weeks after that. And then that unfortunately ended. And I thought, fuck, I'm in a bad spot again. But then got lucky on October 29th, that same year, Superstorm Sandy hit New Jersey. And then I got a gig there with a different company, moving with that ever since with a feverish pace to